exactly has 2 years to save the world? The answer is every person on this planet. We still have a chance to make greenhouse gas emissions tumble. Generation of national climate plans, but we need these stronger plans now. So when I say we have 2 years to save the world, it begs the question, who exactly has 2 years to save the world? The answer is every person on this planet. We still have a chance to make greenhouse gas emissions tumble. Generation of national climate plans, but we need these stronger plans now.
Hello everyone and welcome back to Reforesting for Peace session number 4. What you were hearing right now was the official jingle of Reforesting for Peace, where we are using different indigenous songs from Bolivia, Ecuador, Indonesia, Europe as well. And at the end, we were hearing indigenous from Brazil. So thank you everyone. I hope if you don't get mad that we were using some songs from your countries, from your cultures. The idea is to empower the youth and also that people understand how important indigenous communities are to save the planet, because our friends are in the first line in the fight against climate change. So today we will be talking. In the previous session, we talked about the art of storytelling, and we discovered how stories can transcend boundaries, uniting us to our shared journey towards sustainable future. But today, we will be talking about something incredible: script writing, creativity, and coastal protection, and the involvement of nature-based solutions in this process. As we dive in the essential of script writing, we will uncover the secrets of crafting compelling narratives that amplify the message of nature-based solutions, that we need them so much. As you know, we will use Mentimeter, and please welcome Lujane Ramosi, Luji, and she will let you know the Menti code, and she's the BC of GYC. Hi, Luji, how are you doing?
Hi, everyone. How are you doing? How are you, Augustin?
Today, I'm really excited and happy because I feel that we will have an amazing session. And thank you, everyone, all the team that is in the background. Irene, read.
And Chris and everyone. Okay, so how you use Menti and what Menti is like kind of like Kahoot. So you type www.menti.com, and then you type in the code that you see on the screen, or you scan the QR code. And then it should take you to the questions. And once it's on the questions, yeah, Augustine's doing it right now. Once it's on the questions, you can go and type any question you want to one of your speakers. And yeah, that is all.
But also, don't forget that the first question is asking you, where are you from? Because we want to know where our viewers are coming from. I just clicked that I'm from Ecuador. Okay, let's keep going then, Luigi, and thank you so much. Let's go to our founders and our partners, the contributors that we have during this amazing journey. And again, the Mentimeter, and thank you everyone, Trescon, Sankari Studios, Youth Climate Report, MaFilm, Alta Sea, Eco Interpreters, Youth in Green, CBA, and United Nations, United Arab Emirates, all our partners that make this possible, and as well that ECCG. So we couldn't do this with all these amazing people, and today we have a special guest as a moderator because Hannah is busy right now, but we have someone incredible. Please, hey yo, join me, bro. I'm really glad to have you here today. Hey yo, and please introduce yourself. Let us know what are the amazing things that you are working on. Where's Ayo? I cannot see him. Okay. Ayo. Well, meanwhile, I'm going to read where Ayo is a sustainable advocate from West Africa, Nigeria, and he's most interested in ensuring that, listen to this, young people have the resources that help them in their change-making journey, just that we are doing. That's why Ayo is one of our GYC volunteers. He's doing this through education tours around higher education institutions around his country, Nigeria. In his continent, he is the founder of African Climate Change Movement, where he helps to create networks that leads to project partnerships across Africa. I believe our friend Ayo is having some trouble, but no problem. Just let's keep going, Luigi. Please let us
I'm just
know
gonna
about the languages.
I'm just gonna fill in and say that AO has some internet issues. Once he's back, he'll be on stage immediately. Okay,
Okay.
so as for he's back.
Ayo! Hey, hermano, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Hi, everyone. It's really nice to host this session today. My name is Ayoluwa Folakumi Ogunshola from Nigeria, West Africa, Nigeria. I'm a sustainability advocate from West Africa, Nigeria. I'm very much interested in ensuring that young people have the resources that help them to be able to be involved in the change making journey. And it's a pleasure to be able to host this session with amazing change makers like Augustine, Luigi, and everyone that's joining us from around the world. Um, Please note that this session is being interpreted in different languages. If you have requested interpretation, be sure you are watching us from the right YouTube channel link. You can find them in your email. We'll drop the links in the main chat. Also, make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube channels so that we can keep this going. You know, you should also ensure not to follow our rules of engagement. Please be aware to treat each other with respect and dignity. Pay attention to our amazing speakers and put time into attending all our sessions. Right. Also, do not forget to um, share your highlights on your Instagram and your social media platforms while attending the sessions, right? I would now give it to Augustine so he could share our next speaker.
Yeah, we were seeing our great broadcaster Chris on the background, and yeah, just let's us. Now I have to talk about our social media accounts. As you know, the Global Youth CO, Reforesting for Peace. You can follow us. Please get a screenshot right now. But it's also important that we thank all the team behind Reforesting for Peace, the GYC work and task force. Thank you, Irene, Lu Jane, Hannah, Shange, Bianca, Chris, and also the people behind in the interpretation equi-interpreters. And today, let's go. Hey, Joe, let us know what will be our lineup. I believe, hey, Joe, as you know, we are making this globally. There's people from Nigeria, Ecuador, Egypt, USA, and in general. But today we will have Terry Tamimin, Ahmed Yassin, Selim Siyami Sommer, the musician. We go with Laurel Chor, and we close with Alessandra Yupanqui. So, Terry Tamimin is the president CEO of the nonprofit Blue Economy, have Alta Sea in Port of Los Angeles in 2003. Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger appointed him Secretary of California Environmental Protection Agency and later Cabinet Secretary. He was the Chief Policy Advisor to the governor, and he also co-founded the Air 20 Regions of Climate Action, a public-private partnership working globally to deploy climate solutions at the scale, and provides climate policy advice to 7th-generation advisors in the Leonardo DiCaprio Foundation, Pegasus Capital Advisors, and the UN Green Climate Fund. Wow. He's an accomplished author. Terry's books include Water's Color, How the GG, the Whale Saved Us, and Cracking the Carbon Code, the Keys to Sustainable Profits in New Economy. So if you want to read something, I recommend you these two books. And finally, The Guardian ranked Terry as #1 in its top 50 people who can save the planet. Before we go with Terry, I want to thank you because Alta Sea and you personally, we just reached you out at the beginning of last year. We asked you if you want to support us. We asked you if you just want to come and join us on this journey. And we don't understand how it happened, but you agreed with us. And now you are, Alta Sea is one of our partners. And now we will hear from you, Terry. So thank you so much for leading the climate action with actions. Please, let's go, Irene, with the video and welcome Terry.
Thank you. I hope everyone can hear me. And good morning from Los Angeles, sunny Southern California. Good afternoon to those of you in other time zones. Thanks so much for inviting me. I really appreciate the work of the Global Youth Coalition and all of its participants joining together today. And it was a pleasure to say yes to becoming a partner, because obviously we've got to pass the torch to the next generation and get them engaged in solving the problems that our generation and those ahead of us created in the first place. But today you're gathering to tackle a very big subject, protecting our coasts with nature-based solutions. Now, I've lived all over the world, the United States, Australia, Nigeria, Europe, Brazil, and more. And I worked on these topics with California Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger, as you heard, with Leonardo DiCaprio and building his foundation and his philanthropy in these topics. Worked with President Obama when he was running for president and became president. But none of them can do as much to protect and restore our planet as each one of you, because ideas and policies need to be turned into action. And that's where each of us comes in. So first of all, let's ask ourselves, does something as vast as the ocean and its thousands of miles of coastlines need protection? Well, let me share a story that highlights what's actually at stake. It was a chilly January morning in the coastal waters of Los Angeles, California, about 25 years ago. A newborn gray whale was discovered flopping around in the surf, looking hopelessly for its mother. Well, for the next 36 hours, many of us worked with boats, a makeshift stretcher, and a rented moving van, helicopters, and 1,000 expressions of awe and wonder to get this massive orphan into a tank at SeaWorld, about 120 miles to the south of Los Angeles, in a very desperate attempt to save her. Now, she was named JJ by SeaWorld veterinarians, and when she got there, she was weak, dehydrated, and very disoriented. After all, it's not every gray whale that begins its life riding down the San Diego freeway at 80 miles an hour with a police escort and news helicopters overhead, even in Hollywood. But celebrity alone could not save JJ, given her weakened condition and the threats that she would face if SeaWorld was even able to restore her to health and release her back into the wild. Now, I don't need to tell you that this is an ocean planet, and we are not land creatures, but we're really ocean life forms. Our bodies are mostly saltwater. The first living organisms on Earth to convert sunlight to food are the same blue-green algae that are found in the ocean today, 1.7 billion years old. And just 900 million years ago, the first sex and reproduction took place in the ocean among sponges and jellyfish. So life and the basic way it's created and destroyed hasn't really changed much since the dawn of time, until the dawn of a very different time, industrial humans. Well, how have we changed the ocean in the last 100 years or so? Let's look at an indicator like salmon for the answer. Prior to World War II, salmon was so plentiful in California and in the West, it was called the poor man's steak, employing thousands of people in a billion-dollar industry. Well, today, the salmon catch is less than 5% of that, robbing us of something much more profound than a great meal in our favorite restaurant. And as you know, salmon spawn in freshwater streams that don't have the resources to grow the juveniles to anything approaching their massive adult size. So the young fish swim to the ocean and miraculously transform their body chemistry from freshwater creatures to saltwater. And there, in the ocean wilderness, they can spend years hunting in the endless bounty of the sea. And then as huge adults, they return to the streams that they were born in and repay their own genetic debt. And in the process, they deliver vast quantities of nutrients to the forests. Because after spawning, the salmon die. Their fat and their flesh provide food for mammals, birds, insects, and scavengers that pull tons of their carcasses up into the forest. In fact, as much as 90% of the nitrogen in coastal bears and a third of the nitrogen in coastal forests in California come from the ocean through salmon. It's the most astonishing transfer of wealth on the planet. Nutrients from the sea that allow humble evergreens to grow into giant redwoods, trees that then protect the streams for another generation of salmon to begin that process anew. But in the last few generations, we've interrupted that process with the destruction of that salmon habitat, cutting down the trees, overfishing, pollution, and of course, global warming. Yes, no human-caused threat to our ocean is greater than climate change, because up to half of the excess CO2 pumped into the air by our tailpipes and smokestacks has been absorbed by the ocean, resulting in a 30% increase in its acidity. Yes, we are powerful enough and foolish enough to change the pH, the very chemistry of the ocean, something that covers 70% of the planet. The result is, call it global osteoporosis. Shells can't form in more acidic water. Coral is bleached. Everything dissolves, suffocates, and dies, except the ocean's version of cockroaches and simple algae. We endanger clams and oysters and lobsters and crabs. and large sea creatures, which shellfish is their dietary staple, notably seals and otters and walruses. And most worrisome of all, this is killing plankton and the amphipod crustaceans that sustain mighty whales and big and small animals. In fact, JJ, that whale we rescued, I mentioned earlier, should live to 70 or more years of age, but will likely starve to death by the age of 50, just 25 years from now, because of this pollution-based destruction of her food source. Already, gray whales are found washed up on Pacific Coast beaches, emaciated and dead in record numbers, decades ahead of that prediction. Well, these changes are not always easy to see, but like salmon, there are indicator species that give us warnings. Common clams are smaller than ever, quite literally disappearing before our eyes. And we will suffer from that loss, because protein in a common clamshell has been found to cure cancer. Where do we go when these are gone? Now, former US Vice President Dan Quayle said, "It isn't pollution that's harming the environment. It's the impurities in our air and water that's doing it." Yep, he actually said that. But Shakespeare was more poetic. He said, "There is a tide in our affairs which, taken at the flood, leads on to fortune, but omitted, and all of life's voyage is bound in misery and regret." And I pose to you that we are afloat upon such a sea at this moment, and it's our only generation, yours is really the only generation, that can see this tide and shape our future before it shapes us. And despite the dark picture I've just painted, I'm really here today to say that we can solve these problems. I believe we can do better. We are better than this. So how do we harness nature herself to restore our oceans and coast and all that those things do for us? Well, I'll give you 3 examples. First, we can fight for more MPAs, marine protected areas. I met with the fishing community of La Paz, Mexico a few years ago, and they told me that when conservationists proposed an MPA in their fishing grounds, they opposed it. They feared it would prevent them from making a living. But after just 2 years of creating the MPA, the fishing outside of its boundaries was better than ever. The fishing boats and the crews also got more work as guides for tourists and snorkelers during the off-season of fishing. And the hotels, restaurants, and the tourist services have grown exponentially in the tiny town of La Paz. So now fishers and the whole community are the biggest supporters of the marine protected area. Another example is taking place at Alta Sea in the Port of Los Angeles, where, as you've heard, I'm the president and CEO. We have researchers there from leading universities that are showing how to grow kelp and other seaweed and bivalves like mussels, clams, and oysters on ropes floating in the coastal waters. And that can soak up carbon and start to reverse that acidification. Also gives us a lot of food and fuel and pharmaceuticals and other things you can extract from kelp. And that gives the ocean the ability to pull more carbon out of the atmosphere and reduce global warming. One last example of how nature can restore our planet and tackle climate change is from a project that I supported with funding from the Leonardo DiCaprio Foundation. The African nonprofit Adesso replanted several acres of mangroves along a degraded coastline in Somalia with the help of 200 women farmers. It sequestered over 3,000 tons of CO2 in just the first year of planting. Those mangroves now serve as the nursery for over 100 species of fish and crabs and other ocean animals that have tripled the catch of local fishers. Those mangroves have also protected the villages from the ravages of more intense storms and floods that are the direct result of climate change, so everyone along the coast benefits. So we can make things better by restoring our coasts and oceans. And perhaps the clearest evidence that we can do this comes from that story of JJ, the orphaned whale I told you about. Hundreds of volunteers came together that day to rescue her, people from all walks of life, all ages, all backgrounds. They checked their egos, their politics, their agendas at the beach, and they dove in quite literally to save a creature in dire need. We can do so again for our oceans and for ourselves. By the way, JJ survived a year in captivity, and several months after her release, she was seen swimming northwards in the company of other gray whales. So I wrote this book called Watercolors, as you heard, How JJ the Whale Saved Us, because it's a great example of the fact that she can make it, so can we. Well, just as we've made a conscious decision to save JJ, we're also making an equally profound choice of whether she lives a full, normal life or whether further ocean degradation will starve her prematurely to death, and whether the quality of our life for our children is at least as good as it is today. Well, remember, the planet doesn't care if we're here. 90% of all the plant and animal species ever to exist on Earth appeared and disappeared before the arrival of industrial humans. The planet will do fine without us. We're not trying to save the planet. We're trying to save ourselves. So let's get busy. If we restore our coasts and oceans, we will restore and protect the many lives that depend on it, especially our own. Thank you now. I'll be happy to answer some questions if there are any, and really look forward to continuing to work together with all of you.
Hi, Terry. So we actually do have a lot of questions for you. You've been very popular. People are saying how much that they enjoyed your talk and stuff. So the first question is, what advice do you have for new climate authors who have not published a book yet?
Well, first of all, get started small and then go big. So blogs are a great way to do it. Being on social media, highlighting things that other people might not know about gets you a following. And then that's one of the things publishers want to see. I've published many books, and the first thing they ask you after you sell them on the idea of your book is, how are you going to promote it? Back in the old days, the publisher would promote the book. They would spend a lot of money on ads, or they'd send you around to bookstores to talk about your book. But nowadays, they expect you, the author, to do that. So if you can show you have a following on social media, that you've printed, you've published even op-eds or small blogs or other kinds of short form media, that tells the publisher that, okay, you're someone that they should take a chance on.
It shows them that you're someone that's worth investing in, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, and as for the next question, someone is just leaving you a comment saying, hello, Terry. I just wanted to say that I enjoyed your session so much. I really learned a lot.
Thank you.
Let's go for the next one. Someone else is saying that they need this type of session more. We'll keep that into mind. Someone's asking, it's so inspiring. I'm just curious about if you enjoy working with the GYC. Why did you agree to work with them? That's also something that I'd love to hear.
Sure. Well, first of all, the main reason is in the title, youth. Obviously, as you can see, the comparison of my picture on the screen and my gray hair in real life shows that I'm not youth anymore, and I intend to keep doing this kind of work till the day I die. But someone's going to have to pick up the baton and carry it to the next level. So I really appreciate all that GYC does and how engaging GYC is. It's not just kind of a website that has some banners and goes to some conferences. You really engage with people in so many different ways, not just providing information like we're doing now, but inspiring with song, with writing, with storytelling, in ways that is how people like to absorb information. So I really think that getting young people to understand what's at stake and empowering them, and that's really what GYC does. That's the whole reason to work together.
Thank you so much. We have another question. Do you think fishing and eating fish is sustainable? And wouldn't it be better if humans ate plant-based diets, or both for animal welfare and sustainability? So what do you think about that?
I'm a pescatarian, have been for many years. So I eat fish. I don't eat other meat. And that's in part because I've been a fisher. I can go out in the ocean here and catch a fish in a sustainable way and, clean it and eat it. I think that's reasonable. There is a lot of very sustainable fisheries, but I think that's the challenge, is eating fish from either, the various certification programs or catching it yourself in places where it's sustainable. There's more and more farming. In fact, 2012 was the first year that more seafood, more fish of all kinds, fresh and ocean, came from farms than did from just out in the open ocean or lakes and rivers. And so now it's more than 50% is farmed, but not all of that is sustainable. So you have to do your homework. And yes, the plant-based diet is probably the best, but think about how many acres of rainforest have been cleared to grow food, whether that goes to animals or humans, how much pesticide and herbicide is poured on these fields, and that washes into our receiving waters, our lakes and streams and oceans. So not all plant-based food is sustainable either. Unfortunately, there's a lot of misinformation out there, and so the best thing we can do is educate ourselves and then share that information about sustainable sources of food, whether that's even meat for those who eat meat, or for whether it's fish or plants.
I think that's a really unique way to think about it. We
Indeed.
have.
No, sorry, Logi, to interrupt, but we are trying to go with the time because we want to respect the other speakers' time. But we can also send you, Terry, the questions if you want to your email, and if you have some time, you can respond. But actually, Terry, with GYC, we are working together with Rivet, and there will be in the next weeks a challenge. So if you are there right now hearing, and you want to decarbonize the shipping that is also involved in protecting the ocean, you should follow our social media, also my Instagram, estoy.agustin, and you will have the chance to get a prize of $2,500 as the first prize if you have an amazing project that push the decarbonization of the shipping process of the company that we are collaborating with. Is a global company that is trying, Terry, to get involved with the youngsters. They have some projects in coral reef. Also, they ban plastic from their ships, but now they want to go to the second stage of their process with the decarbonization of shipping. So thank you so much, Terry. We really appreciate your presence here and all what you have shared with us. Just Terry, be aware that we will reach you next week, because as you see, we are doing super great and we want to go to the next stage of our programs. So expect an email from us.
Well, I look forward to continuing. And let me just leave you with this thought from William Shakespeare, who said, "Nature's bequest gives nothing, but doth lend. And so when nature calls thee to be gone, what acceptable legacy canst thou leave?" Well, the work of GYC and everybody who's tuned in today is a legacy that I think even William Shakespeare would be writing poems and plays about if he were alive today. So keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Definitely.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so Luigi, who do we have next now? Let us know.
Have...
I think it's your friend, no?
Yeah, it's a friend of mine. So we actually have someone who's really, really inspiring. His name is Ahmed Yassin. And Ahmed is, just give me 1 minute because, okay. So Ahmed Yassin is the co-founder and chief marketing strategist of Banlastic Egypt, based in Alexandria. And as a social enterprise, it's working on banning single-use plastic in Egypt and the MENA region. He's finished his bachelor's of electromechanical engineering at Alexandria University, and he is now working as a solar ambassador for SolarCity.co and is a part-time solar engineer in Egypt. He established a new platform called Solar Energy to network all factories in Alexandria on a special basis to use clean energy as an alternative to fossil fuels. And Ahmed is working extensively at the development field through various programs that promote development in SDGs. And on a parallel track, he's the Young Mediterranean Voices Ambassador since 2019. Welcome, Ahmed, to our session, to the fourth Refresting for Peace session.
The world, it begs the question, who exactly exactly has 2 years to save the world? The answer is every person on this planet.
Thank you very much, Luigi. It was really nice to have me today, and I'm really also inspired by GYC, as Terry said. I'm really proud also of lots of your work. Getting us all together. Also, I'm really inspired by Terry's talk. I'm really proud to see things happening also. And maybe it's not just the younger generation, all generations are involved in this. So I'm really happy also to manage to witness this. So thank you very much for having me today, and good morning, good evening, good afternoon to all time zones. I know it's we're talking globally, so I'm very happy to say so. So I would like to introduce myself. I'm Ahmed Yassine, co-founder of Banastic Egypt, and also working in the European Union Generation Program, which is called EUGIL Connect, to connect the neighbor south, also in climate issues related to the Mediterranean. Also been working in different development programs, but I'm going to be focused on a very, very what we say is a very, very bad and we have to say triggering issue. Is called the single-use plastic problem. And also I'm coming from Alexandria, Egypt, which is one of the most vulnerable cities in Egypt to the single-use plastic problem and climate change issues. And this is why we've established and co-founded with another great two co-founders the Banastic. And Banastic is a combination of two words. It's ban and single-use plastic, which is lastic. And we've invented this word just to change the mindset of the people about one of the problematic pollution, which is coming from the single-use plastic. Single-use plastic, and why we've been working on this. Single-use plastic is one of the pressing issues, and plastic lives, we can say, almost forever. You know, one single-use plastic bottle lives for more than 400 years. So we cannot really even live to witness its biodegradation. And at the end of the day, it doesn't biodegrade. It's just break down into small pieces, which is called microplastics, and enter our food chain and really get into our systems and blood systems and affect us in an indirect and direct way to unfortunately to be part of we have to say that the carcinogenic diseases, which is very, very common now because of the rise of the production of the single-use plastic. And this is why we are talking about the single-use plastic, and we always advocating against the single-use plastic. Also, we're not just talking about the health issues, we're talking about the environment. And one of the most also vulnerable, we have to say, is like the seas and our oceans, which is our oxygen generator. And single-use plastic is killing ecosystems that are producing our oxygen. So our oxygen generators are declining because of this enemy. We call it the shiny, monstrous enemy, and it's used to be our friend 20 years ago, but it turns out to be a vicious enemy which will affect us in every sense of the way. So we've established, of course, as I said, in on who we are as a social enterprise. We've started working in 2018 by doing 3 main pillars, and most of our pillars, or most importantly, that we wanted to target the single-use plastic in a different way. We've changed the language a little bit, and because we wanted to be the new climate activists and the new voices that have to be talking to the community in different ways. So we've changed the language a little bit because we wanted the people to be involved in the equation of success and on how to tackle the single-use plastic in different ways. And this was really a great approach when we've started talking to the audience themselves, which are for example, when we started, the first pillar is raising the awareness in a different language by talking to the beachgoers, talking to the schools, and different, of course, age clusters, talking to the locals, sometimes the fishermen and other kind of people who, when been part of our activities, to work with us, not just watching us doing the activities. And this is one of the most important pillars, to engage the community in our work and to be part of the equation. And this happened by also tackling the problem from different angles, and we call it the 360 degrees concept, plastic free. So we're going to every single type of activities that produce a single-use plastic, and to offer solutions and how to make it more green and make it more eco-friendly. And that started, of course, with the biggest campaigns, and which is called the cleanup campaigns. One of those, the most important, which was Guinness. We've started in 2021 with the biggest one, and 2022 another Guinness, and in 2023 the third Guinness, which is cleaning more than 8 beaches, and the second year were 13 beaches being cleaned by more than 600 volunteers in less than 1 hour to collect more than 2 tons of single-use plastic in 1 hour. And what was really brilliant about this campaign is we got all the Alexandrians on board, and most of the people, they said that we want to be part of the solution. We want to go to this cleanup, and they never ashamed to be, cleaning the beaches from the single-use plastic. And this is one of the greatest campaigns, because I've seen all ages, all people, all backgrounds. It's just not, the youth or not the young people or not the old people. Everyone was involved. Even the government, and somehow were really involved to, make it easy for us to go to all of these beaches at the same time. And it was especially in the eastern part of Alexandria when we started. And in the third year, we've cleaned more than different coastal cities, 3 cities. I think, or 3 to 4 cities at the same time, all of them coastal cities on the Mediterranean, and also one coastal city in the Red Sea. So all together, we've done this. And this is what I've said about the awareness, and we are doing the action in front of the people, so people see us, what we're doing. Also, we have a very nice statement on the back of our vests, which is saying, "Do you eat plastic?" So most of the people, they are really wondering why that question. And they found out that it's very, very, what we call it we need to know what's going on and why they're doing this. The second pillar, which is very important, is to produce alternative to single-use plastics. So the solution must be there, and not to lecture people about something but what doesn't have, we lack the solution. So we're producing products which is eco-friendly and 85% locally made in Egypt, so we can reduce the carbon footprint. Also, the third pillar, which is very important, is to try to get into the policies and to give recommendations to the government, so we can play an important role about this. Our green projects, we've done cleanups, we've done workshops and trainings with the school, youth capacity building projects, which with everyone involved, with the local communities. We've done the first plastic-free marathon 2 years in a row, and it was a massive success, saved more than 1,200 plastic bottles. Also, we've done sustainable trips to the countryside of Alexandria. We've worked with Arabic documentaries so we can sort of get into more to the international movies, and to be dubbed into Arabic for our community, so they can understand that they have access to more projects. We've done the first plastic museum in Alexandria from the plastic waste collected from our cleanups, and we've done campaigns to the plastic-free districts, Kafr Abdu and Fuad Street in Alexandria. Was really inspiring to other cities to do. We've done also a green mapping to all important counter pillars, and we need them to be on board, and we had started the first green community. This is our outreach map, and where we worked around Egypt and also the Mediterranean. And those are the co-founders, along with me, Manar Ramadan and Abdul Qadir Khaliki. So this is our highlights, and I'm really proud to be giving also any insights or answer any questions related to Banlastic and our activities, also to other projects related to the single-use plastic problem.
Thank you so much, Ahmed, for sharing all your experiences and work to tackle this important issue regarding plastic pollution. Um, it's just inspiring to hear the amazing work that you've been doing. And I'll pass on to Luigi now to see what the GYC community have to say about what you're doing, the questions they want to have. Yeah.
Okay. So that was amazing, Ahmed. We really enjoyed that. Very, very inspiring. So thank you. The first thing, like the first question from our audience is, what's your favorite thing about your work? And what do you enjoy most about Banlastic?
I'm really proud to be part of the change, even if it's just a small impact. When I see 3 or 4 people even in the room just convinced about my, advocacy. So I really love it because I see that, if I changed 4 people, it might be more and more. And, the ripple effect can take its course. So I'm really happy about that. So also... Yes, yeah. Exactly. And about Banlastic, because we're working with different clusters of community. So I was really proud to have, the younger generation. The school campaigns are one of the best campaigners I've been part of. And I'm really want to create more, powerful campaigns, especially that we've done the first plastic curriculum. And we want to be doing more than that and to be officially taught to our students, our younger generation.
Sounds amazing. So another question is, could you tell us more about the Plastic Museum?
Yes, in a nutshell, Plastic Museum is an idea came up after we want to work with artists to showcase the plastic problem by the waste that we've collected from our cleanups. And one of the best things that we've seen fantastic creative ideas to showcase such a problem and also to do some structures related to that. And it was an inspiring idea because it was picked up by the news and most of people wanted to do it also in other countries. And we had a really good partnerships about it.
That sounds really, really cool. Another question is, okay, where I live, the cheaper produce unfortunately comes in plastic packaging. What can we do to change this? I think this is really inspiring. Yeah, it's a good question. No, continue.
Yes. Yes. Very important question, of course, because I wanted to say that, eco-friendly packaging, now it's easy than ever because technology is taking place. The point is, it's just we need to support, green businesses to do that green transition. And most of the time that we have always, that's the plastic lobby playing a very important role, is to get that plastic is cheap, plastic is free, plastic is not expensive, but actually plastic is expensive. That's coming really, the prices are going up and up and up. So what we found here is doing, depending on, for example, agriculture waste, other types of waste, even the wise recycling, or what we call it, the good concept about recycling is fixing or doing recycling to the plastic which already exists, but we need to stop the resource. And so that's what we're saying, is we need to support green businesses, and you will find it more and more cheaper to do the eco-friendly packaging. And we've done this. We have the least and the cheapest products in Egypt in Banlastic.
That's great. And the last question for the time, and I'm going to send you the rest of the questions on your email, is what's your advice to someone that's starting out new in climate?
The most important thing is to never give up, because it's a little bit difficult, to start with a new idea related to climate, but you will get the snowball rolling. So just keep being resilient, try to talk to everyone at the same time, try to knock all the doors and never give up. And that's very important in the climate work. And also keep talking about this, the issue, and never get bored.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure having you, and you've been extremely educative and informative. So thank you for that.
I'm really proud. Thank you very much. Thank you, Luigi, and thank you to the other brilliant team. I'm really proud of you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Luigi and Ahmed. Now we move on to the music break, where we just listen to the music and have fun.
A chance to make greenhouse gas emissions tumble. Generation of national climate plans, but we need these stronger.
Hello, this is Selim. Welcome to the Music of the Plants. I want to thank you for being together and to nurture this awareness of planet, the Mother Earth. Please accept this music as a gift from nature. Just enjoy together. Thank you.
Wow, that was amazing, Salim. It
Oh, thank
really
you.
makes me so happy, and honestly, it inspires me to see someone playing live. It's the first time, honestly, that I see someone playing live with plants. I know that you have been working with music with for a while. You are an instrumentalist, composer, and
Yes.
sound artist. And in the past few years, you decided to jump with plants. How did that
Yeah.
come?
I was just find that so much inspiring. The nature itself is a biggest art, I think, and I want to go deep inside it and find some basic, minimalist, and um, um, good things in it, healing things in nature, and then I decide to translate it into the art form. That was the beginning of the story in pandemic year, you know. Everyone
Yes.
finds something in that time.
It was a transformative time for all of
Yes,
us,
yes,
indeed.
yes, right. Yes,
So
right.
thank you so much, Salim. You are playing
Thank you.
live from Turkey, right?
Yes, right. Istanbul.
Istanbul.
Yes, right.
Excellent. Yeah, I was living
Uh,
there for a while. I connect with
yeah.
Sulenia, who connect me with you. So thank you so much, Salim. If someone wants to follow Salim during the video that we will play at the end, you can find his Instagram. But you can also tell us, Salim, what's your Instagram?
Yeah, this Selim Siami Instagram. You can find me
Great.
easily. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and have a nice night.
Thank you. You
So let's keep going with the Reforesting for Peace session. And right now, we will be having, and let me introduce you to our next speaker, Laurel Chor, an Emmy-nominated journalist, photographer, filmmaker, and National Geographic explorer from Hong Kong. Her works examines the relationship between people, nature, and society, and how they are affected by transnational issues such as conflict and climate. Chor is currently co-directing a documentary following the lives of three people in Donbas, Ukraine, and was an EP for Tigre Gente, a 2021 film that premiered at Tribeca Film Festival, in which she conducts an undercover investigation on the illegal jaguar trade. Oof, that's dangerous. She was honored for the 2020 IWMF Anja Niedringhaus Coverage in Photojournalist Award for her coverage of the 2019-2020 Hong Kong protests, and her work has been recognized by the Overseas Press Club of America, Society of Publishers in Asia, and Times Top 100 Photos of the Year. She has a master in biodiversity conservation from the University of Oxford, our partner, and is an accomplished rugby player, having represented Hong Kong in the 2017 Rugby World Cup. So after this video, Laurel, the floor is all yours. Thank you so much. And I don't know if you know, but I'm currently in Hong Kong. It's a random thing that I want to share with you. So Irene, on the back, let's go with the video. And don't forget you have the Mentimeter code there. And also we will be sharing the code, the code for the session number 4 is Ocean Power 4. El código para la sesión is Ocean Power 4. Let's go.
Is every person on this planet. We still have a chance to make greenhouse gas emissions tumble.
Hi everyone. Thank you so much for having me. I only have 20 minutes, so this presentation is going to be really quick. And the portion that I would like to talk to you about today, when you're making a documentary film, is, let me see if I can change the slide. There we go. So I'm assuming what we're going to talk about, I'm assuming that you're currently in the phase of pre-production, which means that you are getting ready to shoot. Production is when you're actually shooting, filming the thing, and pre-production is before. So I'm assuming that you know the story that you want to tell. You know that you know the issue that you are talking about. You might have an idea of the different people that you want to showcase, or organizations, or where you want to do an interview. And you're at the phase of really trying to figure out, right, what can I plan for my shoot? What should I be shooting? So first, I'm going to talk a little bit super quickly about my background and my style. And I want to have this part not only just introduce myself, but explain the professional training that I've had and how that lends itself to the way I film documentary films. And I say this also to stress that this is just my style. I come very much from a news documentary background. I'm very much a journalist, and not everyone who makes a documentary film will have that background. And with doc film, there's so many ranges of budgets. Sometimes you might not even necessarily have the resources to have a separate edit. So maybe later when I talk about scripting, maybe it's not so relevant to you. So all that to say, I'm a photographer and filmmaker. I cover a lot of social and political issues around the world. This is from covering the protests in Hong Kong, where Augustin is. I was a producer for Vice News Tonight on HBO, covering, again, social, political, environmental issues all over the world. So my style is very similar to the Vice style of making film, and which is a very in the moment, kind of in the scene kind of filming, where you really feel immersed in what you're showing. And it's very much cinematically filmed. And not all documentary films are this style, right? And that's kind of up to you. I've done stories about the Rohingya refugee crisis. This is from a quake tsunami in Indonesia, where I actually currently am, but this was a few years ago. I also wanted to show a little bit about how I also blend photo and video and do environmental stories, since that's what you guys work on. This is from a story I did a couple years ago about cobalt mining in the DRC, and this is a photograph I took that ended up being published in Time. Most recently, I did a story about deep sea mining for Scripps News. That one I hosted. So again, to show like a lot of my work before wasn't hosted. Some of the work I do now is hosted, and that is also a different kind of style that will be up to you guys depending on what is best for you. Tigre Gente is a feature film that I did. So more recently, I have been doing more feature documentary film, which is a bit of a different world as well from news film. It's obviously a lot longer, usually a lot more resources. And most recently, I've also been dabbling in podcasts. So I have experience in different types of storytelling, but the fundamentals of storytelling, especially for this kind of work, are kind of the same. And I'll talk a bit about that as much as I can in 20 minutes. This is a documentary that we filmed in Ukraine. My main project now is in Ukraine. This was a short film that I filmed with my colleagues earlier on in the invasion. And now our main project is a feature documentary film with 3 people. And I still also do my photography out there. So the first thing that you need to figure out when you are planning your shoot, you have this story that you want to film, and you're like, okay, you're sitting down at a table, what do I do next? The first thing that you need to figure out are the different elements in your piece, right? Whether it's 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 12 minutes, your documentary isn't just going to be one piece, right? It's not just going to be one interview. It'll probably be an interview with several people, or it'll show different locations to tell different parts of the story, right? What are those different parts? You need to figure that out. As a journalist, I call these elements beats. Beats, just think of them as mini stories. every wider story consists of smaller stories, right? You know, when you do an interview with someone, for example, you're telling a little story about them. And then when you go to maybe a protest scene, you're now telling a story about this protest, right? And together, all these different little stories help to illustrate the wider story. But you gotta make sure that there's a purpose to each beat or element, right? You need to really think about, what is this beat saying? What is this adding to my film, or what I'm trying to say? And generally, any story or beat, you know, you'll have a who. Who are you talking to? What are we talking about? When, where are we? Situate us in time. Obviously, it's often usually going to be right now with documentary. And where, you know, where are we? Why are we here? These are all the different elements of any story and documentary that you will have to think about and make sure that you're really communicating that to your audience. Okay, so I told you you need to figure out your elements, but how do you figure them out? A few tips, you know, think about how important each of these elements are to the story. In any given issue that all of you guys work on, right? Like, let's say climate change or deforestation. Like, how do you tell that story? You're going to have to really narrow down what you're trying to say. And you want to, importantly, maintain the viewer's attention. You have to be respectful of their time and ask for their attention, right? You have to have a purpose to everything that you're showing them. And sometimes the purpose of an element in a documentary is to have a human element. For example, maybe you have an interview with an expert, or you know, data that you explain, but to illustrate that, you just want to have someone putting a human face on the issue. Having different perspectives is super important, right? Maybe, you know, as advocates, it might not be the case, but as a journalist, if I'm talking, for example, maybe about an environmental dispute, and I talk to communities affected perhaps by, let's say, pollution created by a factory. As a journalist, I need to not only, of course, amplify those voices of the people affected, but I have an obligation to also ask the people who are behind the factory, right, who work at the factory, who own the factory. And so the fact that there are different perspectives, you need these kinds of different perspectives often when telling a story, at least journalistically. There's the importance to the story, but there's also just a strong character. We call them characters. You can also call them subjects or just people. We really just mean people, right? You're telling a story has characters. They don't have, you know, when we say character, we don't just mean a fairy tale character. We mean a person, a real person you're telling a story about. In the type of film that I make, it's arguably the most important thing for human beings. We relate to other people, and my glasses are fogging up. We relate to other people, and that allows us to empathize with the subject that you're talking about. So you want a strong, compelling character, which means that they have a strong story. And that's often your job of finding who are these people, right? Talk to the people, you know, your community, or you know people who know their communities. Ask them, like, who would be a person who would be a really good character for the story that we're trying to tell. Visuals, very important. You are making a film, right? You need something that is interesting to look at, because why are you using video over another format? Sometimes a lot of stories are not fit for video. It's one of the things that make a lot of environmental stories hard to film, like climate change. You know, the audience, filmmakers gravitated to the scenes of like icebergs falling, right? Because that's the most visual illustration of the story. But then audience grew tired of that, right? So what can you show that's as dramatic, that still illustrates a story? It's not always easy to figure out. This is a creative process. So this does require creativity. I can give you tips, but there's no real like formula, but you just have to keep trying at it. So the first example, we don't have a lot of time, but I still thought if I'm gonna talk about video, show you a quick video. So now would be a good time to show, this is a 4.5 minute video that I produced for Vice a while back. It's unhosted, narrated by someone else, but it's about how Hong Kong is running out of space to bury its dead people. So if we could play that video now, and I want you to pay attention to all the different elements. What is the wider story? It's what I just said. And how am I illustrating that story with different elements that have gone into this 4.5-minute piece? All right, you can press play if that works. Oh, I can't hear you.
Sorry. Hi, how are you doing? Amazing session, by the way. We are enjoying it. We are just having some trouble because of, I believe, your connection to play the video. So, you think you can just relate this, like tell us something about it? Sorry for that. We were not expecting this problem with the video. Can you hear me? Okay. So in between, don't forget that you have the Mentimeter. The code for this session number 4 is Ocean Power, and we are hoping that you are enjoying. As you may know, we have speakers all over the planet, and because of that, there are some problems with the connections that we are having. And yeah, Laurel, it's now for now. So I'm not gonna be improvising alone.
Hi, Augustin.
How are you doing, Luigi?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Also great. I believe it has been an amazing session so far. What do you think?
I think so too. I really love the insights that we got from Terry and from Ahmed, and of course from Laurel.
What about you, hey Joe? Laurel is back. Just hey Joe, how are you doing?
Bro, I'm so informed. I feel like there's so much going in my head right now, and I'm just like, wow.
Yes, exactly. Same by me. So just so the people know, right now we are connected. Cairo, Nigeria. Where are you right now, Laurel?
I'm in Indonesia.
Indonesia, and I am in Hong Kong. So it's a global call. And please, I was sharing with you, Laurel, that we are having some trouble with your video. So maybe we can continue from there. But please go ahead. The floor is all yours.
Sure.
Thank you so
Okay.
much.
That's fine. Well, the good thing is you guys can all watch that video later. Let me just scroll down to my slide. And it means I have more time to talk, for good or for bad. Ooh. Okay. So you can actually go and like Google this video on your own. Yes, great. Put the video link is in the chat. But honestly, you don't really need to watch the video. I can just talk through it, and this will sort of maybe illustrate in a way also scripting. How am I going to explain a video without actually showing you the video? So the story, like I said, I'm from Hong Kong. How cool that Augustin is in Hong Kong. Hong Kong, as you probably may know, is very densely populated. There's not a lot of land for people to live. And of course, that's land for everything, including cemeteries and burial places. So, I start off with the introduction, I explain all this, and then we start with visuals that illustrate the point, right? I'm just introducing the issue. And then we go to this scene where we're with this woman, and you're kind of following her as she's looking for a specific cubby that's on the wall. And her purpose in this story is to show what a real life person who uses what are these things that are called columbariums. They're places where people put the urns of people have been, with the ashes of people have been cremated. And even those spaces are very limited and super expensive, and we're running out of space even for that. So that's the purpose of this scene, right? Not only giving that point, but we give that point. So what's happening in this scene is this woman is looking for the niche, for the spot that her parents had reserved, and her mom was ill, and they needed to figure out where it was they're preparing. In the end, she was actually fine. But this is, we could have just said this on screen. We could have had an expert say this, right? But we went through the effort of finding someone who would really have a real story that we can empathize and be in action with to illustrate this point that one of the solutions is these columbariums for ash urns, but even those are running out of space. So the next person we go to right now, we're in a different location, we're with a different person. She has a different story. And her story is that because she hasn't been able to find a spot to put the urn of her relative who had passed away, she had no choice but to keep the urn in her house. And this illustrates how the problem is actually affecting people, right? How does this problem illustrate in a real person's life? And we can see we're actually in her home. We see the urn, and this is a much more immersive way of explaining this point rather than maybe having, again, an expert show this or just say this on camera. Next, we show people actually scattering ashes at a cemetery. So one of the solutions that the Hong Kong government came up with is for people to scatter the ashes. And Hong Kong being very regulated, they have these plots, these tiny plots in cemeteries, and maybe it's changed since then, it's been a few years, designated places where they spread ashes because you're not allowed to spread them anywhere. So it's like this little small park where everyone's dumping ashes. But that is one solution they had to this problem of not having space to bury coffins or even to put urns. Next, we go to this guy, and he has come up with a solution. It's an app. It's a virtual reality app that projects, using your phone screen, the tombstone of your design in the location that you want as an alternative to having a physical place where you can go and pay your respects to your deceased loved ones, because that's really important in Chinese culture. And this guy basically came up with a technological solution. So we have this guy to illustrate that, right? And what he's doing is he's actually using the app in a park. So I don't think I have that much time left, so maybe I'll skip example 2. But so example 2 was just me going through another video, the one about cobalt mining, and showing you again all the different people and places and stories that we featured in order to tell different elements of the story. And some of those elements don't necessarily have to be like things that you film, right? It could be things using footage from YouTube. Make sure you check copyright and all that. It could, this screenshot that I'm showing now, that is archival. We didn't go and film a Tesla show. That is just something we pulled to illustrate how cobalt's being used in electric car vehicle batteries. We have this interview with a person who is the president of a mining co-op. I speak to a mining contractor from China to illustrate how a lot of these mines are Chinese owned. And this is a person who was willing to talk about the corruption involved as a person who is actually a miner himself. So I could keep going. So you can see all these different stories. This piece is longer. This is in 17 minutes. So there's a lot more space for more elements, right? Or beats. And if you're doing like a 3-minute video, which is probably if you're doing it for social media, you wouldn't want it really much longer than that, right? You might only have time for 1 or 2 beats.
Hi, Laurel.
Then, oh, yes. Well, you know what? That was a good place to end, if that's where we have to end.
I'm good that I chose the right time. So I'm just gonna say, for me, that was amazing. I enjoyed everything that you said. We sent everyone videos on the YouTube chat that's being live streamed, so they have the videos. And now we're just gonna go with the questions, if that's cool with you. Okay, yeah. So the first question we have is, how did you manage to deal with the pressure as working undercover, and how can we as youth do something with such an impact?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, going undercover can be stressful. I think this sort of answers your second question too, but sort of with time and experience, I realized that one of my strengths is handling stress and fear well. And that is, when I did a lot of those undercover projects, I was really young and had no experience. The one thing I knew I could do was pretend to be a young Chinese girl shopping for wildlife products. I knew I could do that, right? And I knew that I could handle that situation and that I had some of the language skills as well. So firstly, yeah, I think managing the pressure, I just happen to be good at it. I know that's not a very helpful question, but it's also practice and experience, right? And at the end of the day, you're just interacting with people.
Would you
and
say
yeah.
that you can fake it until you make it, basically, when it comes to handling stress?
Yeah, of course, of course. I mean, handling stress really is just looking not stressed, right? You have to be stressed. Of course, you're stressed. But and the
Yeah.
second question, how can you? I was young. I was super young when I first started doing my first undercover project. I think I was 23. So just figure out what your strengths are. And a lot of the time, your value added, even if you don't have the skills or the experience, is bravery, right? You have that. You have bravery and you have willpower. You can do a lot of things with that.
I love that. So another question is, when and how did you decide that climate conflicts are going to be your scope, the thing that you want to do?
Yeah. So climate and conflicts, I honestly only recently was finally able to express these things, so succinctly, climate and conflict, because the range of stories I've done and still do is super wide. But I think for me, I feel very lucky that I have the opportunity and the privilege to be able to cover what I think are two of the biggest issues facing humanity right now. I think obviously it's climate change, and on the other hand, it's not just conflict, but all the ways in which people on this planet are being oppressed. And I think certainly we can't solve climate without solving the other and making sure we're all liberated, right? But on the other, and they affect each other. So
Yeah.
that is sort of the focus that I would like to focus on. They're just the two things I think that are most important in the world right now.
We have one question from us as the GYC. So our question to you is, how are you finding this program? And how do you see the GYC? What do you like about us? And if there are any...
Yeah, I think it's so cool that it's so international. It's super rare for me to see solidarity and cooperation across continents, and the fact that you're doing that and making it accessible is super cool and important and needed. I think that's my favorite part, how it's really forging bridges across young people who might not otherwise interact, but we're all fighting for the same thing.
Thank you so much, Laurel. I actually have more questions for you on the Menti, but I'll send them to you on your email if you're cool with that. And
Yeah,
we can
of course.
your answers.
Can I just ask something? Because I would really like to hear from you, Laurel, since you are working in conflicts and especially in what's going on in Ukraine and Russia. And you just mentioned how important is that we thrive together without mattering where are we from. So from your experience, what can you share to the youngsters that are hearing now? Because there's a lot of anger from different people, even in GYC, that they are from, people from Ukraine, from Russia, from Palestine, Israel. And what can you share with them to deal with this anger and to advocate for peace, climate and peace?
Yeah, it's a hard one, right? I think firstly we do have to acknowledge that it is hard and stuff is scary and anxious inducing, and that's okay. And it's normal to feel that way. But on the other hand, I think anger means that you care, and anger is energy, and anger is passion, and you can funnel that anger or anxiety, right? Those feelings that you have, even if they're difficult, be grateful that you can feel and use that feeling, and try to imagine if the whole world felt the way that you did, right? For me, that's my goal as a storyteller, as a journalist. I just want to use the mediums that I do, whether it's film or video, a film or a photo or a podcast or whatever. If I sincerely believe that if we can all just be a little bit better at feeling the way that other people feel, and if people are really passionate about important causes, we're also able to transmit that passion to other people, then we would make a lot of progress.
Thank you for sharing that. So thank you, Laurel, for your time. Now we have to keep going. We have a second amazing filmmaker, content creator, and it was amazing to have you here. Again, I want to share, like, it was really a surprise for me to find out that you're from Hong Kong, because I just landed here last 7 days ago. I'm trying to understand Asian culture in general, because I believe that everyone must connect, and we have to break all these concepts. And right now, even like, because there's all these conflicts, it's even more important, at least for me, to thrive and to try to push this forward. And yeah, in general. So thank you so much, Laurel, for the job that you are doing, and it was an impressive session.
Yeah,
So,
thank you for having me, and thank you for doing all of this.
Yeah, no, thank you. So, hey, Joe, please let us know who is coming next.
Thank you so much, everyone. Our next speaker is Alessandra Yupanqui, who is a content creator, an Andean activist, a TEDx speaker, a storyteller, and the co-founder of Sapiens. She is the first digital sustainability media from Peru for LATAM, and it's an amazing opportunity for me to introduce you guys to her. Welcome to the session, Alessandra Yupanqui.
So when I say we have 2 years to save the world, it begs the question.
3, 2, 1, vamos. Hola, hola, ¿qué tal? Qué gusto estar acá con ustedes para presentarles esta mini clase de creatividad y storytelling. Mi nombre es Alessandra Yupanqui y les voy a contar un poquito de mí para empezar. Resulta que mi verdadero apellido en el documento de identidad oficial no es Yupanqui, sino Guzmán. Y esa historia no la hubiera sabido de no ser por mi curiosidad. De hecho, me enteré de eso preguntando a un tío en un almuerzo familiar. Yo nací en el 97, tengo 26 años, en Lima, Perú, una ciudad migrante. Y hoy, con 26 años, he cumplido uno de mis más grandes sueños. He regresado a la montaña, vivo en una casita a 3.600 metros sobre el nivel del mar, en Cusco, y tengo 6 hijos muy peludos, ya no 5. Y bueno, soy storyteller, activista andina y viajera sostenible. Y bueno, para mostrarle a mis criaturas...
¡Ay! ¡Ay! ¿Qué pasó?
Ellas son Chasca, Nina, Tupi, Chichi.
¡Ay, sí, señorita!
Y Para. Son las 6 criaturas con las que vivo aquí en casa. Quería presentárselas. Y bueno, a ver. Esta historia de las que le hablé hace un ratito fue parte de mi charla TED. Di una charla TED hace ya 1 año y medio, que de hecho me sacó muchas lágrimas en vivo. Hablar de mi abuela es algo que me conmueve muchísimo. Es una historia que me remueve las entrañas y con eso quiero empezar. De hecho, si la historia que quieres contar no te mueve un pelo, mejor no la cuentes. Y en este momento los invito a pensar en alguna historia que los mueva tanto, que los deje con las ganas de aprender de esta mini clase herramientas para poder contarla de la mejor forma. Y bueno, voy a empezar con la historia de mi abuela. Ella es Rufina. Ella nació en un pueblo que se llama Jatapalpapalpa, en una comunidad en Chumbivilcas, de hecho a 10 horas del aeropuerto de Cusco. Pertenece al departamento de Cusco, pero no está en la ciudad de Cusco. La historia de ella está muy marcada por el racismo, la discriminación, las brechas de acceso a educación y la violencia familiar. Y bueno, creo que es obvio que todos estos puntos me llenaron de enojo, ¿no? Y con esto quiero comentar que todos tenemos algo que nos duele, que nos enoja, que quisiéramos que todos sepan o que cambie. Y ese es el motor o el ingrediente principal para contar una buena historia. Pero no el momento. Pienso que de haber contado la historia de mi abuela cuando estaba yo llena de rabia y queriendo buscar a los culpables, tal vez no hubiera generado empatía en la audiencia, sino más bien una suerte de rechazo. Y con esto los invito a preguntarse desde dónde estamos contando las historias que nos mueven. Porque contar algo enojados, lamentablemente, puede hacernos caer en posturas polarizantes y dogmáticas. Y por lo general no es lo que queremos con la audiencia. Nosotros queremos que nuestra audiencia empatice con nuestras historias, no que se llene de rabia. Entonces, con esto les quiero hablar un poco de las etapas de emoción que yo he encontrado en una historia que me mueve, ¿no? La primera etapa, por lo general, es de enojo, ¿no? Yo pensaba, por ejemplo, con la historia de mi abuela, que habían víctimas y victimarios, que mi abuela era la víctima y el resto del mundo eran victimarios. Entonces, la primera etapa de emoción fue una postura dicotómica. La segunda etapa, en cambio, fue una postura de asombro. Al indagar mucho más en esa historia, me di cuenta que en el mundo no existen víctimas y victimarios como tal, no todo es tan blanco y negro. Muchas veces somos las dos cosas al mismo tiempo. Entonces me empecé a preguntar, ¿yo también habré sido víctima y victimario, por ejemplo, cuando sentí vergüenza de ella? Y en la tercera etapa, con un entendimiento mucho más amplio de la problemática, me di cuenta, pues, que toda historia tiene personajes con aparentes contradicciones yuxtapuestas. Y solo así llegué a la cuarta etapa, que fue el momento en el que yo sentí que estaba lista emocionalmente y con un panorama de información más amplio como para poder comunicar esa historia a una audiencia más amplia. Y bueno, este mix entre la pasión que te brinda ese primer impulso, que puede ser dolor o enojo, con una postura crítica de conocer ya el panorama entero, más ecuánime, son el mix perfecto para tener una gran historia, para empezar a escribirla. Pero bueno, esto con respecto a lo que yo he venido comunicando desde mi cuenta como Alessandra Yupanqui, pero en este punto de mi vida me di cuenta que no existen identidades ni relaciones humanas posibles sin un planeta sano. Entonces, fue así que junto a mi socio Jorge generamos este medio de comunicación que llamamos Sapiens, un medio que está enfocado en contar temas de sostenibilidad enfocados en estos tres grandes ejes que son planeta, cultura y ciencia. Nuestra idea con este medio fue democratizar la información en torno a la sostenibilidad, dando información que despierta e historias que transforman. La gente conecta muchísimo con las historias, así que supimos que ese iba a ser el puente para conectar con ellos. Por muchísimo tiempo la sostenibilidad ha sido una temática conversada solamente entre entendidos, y nosotros notamos que son finalmente las masas las que tienen la capacidad de hacer cambios significativos en el mundo. Entonces, era importantísimo democratizar ese tipo de información. Y para llegar a las masas hay que saber elaborar piezas de comunicación que tengan el impacto que necesitábamos para que se hagan masivas. Tengo el orgullo de decir que desde que nació Sapiens, apenas en diciembre, hemos alcanzado una audiencia ya hoy por hoy de más de 15,000 seguidores. Hemos notado que la gente está interesada en estos temas, que está interesada en que le cuentes, por ejemplo, una historia sobre polillas, que quizás alguien podría decir, bueno, ¿eso a quién le interesa? Hay personas que les interesa, que están interesadas en eso, pero si sabes contar bien la historia. Y bueno, en realidad como equipo tenemos esta forma de pensar. Si la sostenibilidad se tratara de una religión, no podemos seguir hablándole solo a los ya conversos. La idea es aterrizar información de expertos para personas comunes y corrientes que, como reitero, son las que tienen la capacidad de hacer cambios significativos en el mundo. Y el reto con la comunicación desde Sapiens ha sido que lo pueda entender mi madre o tu madre, que la información llegue a las audiencias más inesperadas. No en sus países, pero en Perú sucede que tenemos grandes periodistas de investigación, pero que no pueden lograr comunicar sus artículos. Son periodistas que necesitan el poder de comunicadores que se dedican a la difusión para poder ampliar el alcance de sus piezas. Entonces, ese ha sido el reto. Y bueno, con esto los quiero invitar a que cuando ustedes estén pensando en que quizás con las piezas que ya han ido publicando en internet les está yendo mal, empiecen a compararse. En realidad, desde la experiencia que tengo como Alessandra Yupanqui manejando una cuenta que hoy por hoy ya tiene más de 200,000 seguidores, que pienso que es una métrica válida, y la experiencia que hemos acumulado desde Sapiens, nuestro medio de comunicación, nos hemos dado cuenta que la comparación no es mala en lo absoluto. Es importante analizar los casos de éxito de piezas que sí han funcionado en Internet. Y bueno, con esto les quiero hablar un poco de el proceso que tenemos nosotros para crear contenido desde Sapiens. Primero, bueno, nada se sostiene sin una línea editorial apasionante y clara. Sea cual sea el proyecto en el que estás pensando, te tiene que apasionar y tienes que tener mucha claridad porque, como siempre decimos, el que mucho abarca, poco aprieta. Hay que tener claridad de las cosas que queremos comunicar. Y bueno, con la línea editorial apasionante y clara, sobre eso hemos montado este proceso a grandes rasgos. El primero es que nosotros como equipo manejamos varios grupos en donde a diario compartimos información sobre la que nos gustaría reversionar o comunicar de mejor forma. Entonces, todo el tiempo nos estamos enviando data y estamos haciendo una elección de temáticas para la malla del mes. Como segunda fase, nosotros definimos formato. Hay formatos y formatos que te permiten contar historias más largas, como reels de 2, 3 minutos, hasta 6 minutos. Tengo la dicha de decir que hemos logrado posicionar en digital con más de 1 millón de reproducciones videos de hasta 6 minutos hablando de ciencia indígena. Entonces, hay videos que pueden tener esa cantidad de tiempo y pueden ser bien digeridos si la historia está bien contada. Entonces, definimos el formato, si es short, si es carrusel, si es reel, y luego pasamos a la etapa de investigación. Primero definimos formato porque si el formato que hemos elegido para contar cierta temática es un formato carrusel y nosotros nos metemos una investigación de 3 días, es imposible procesarla toda en un formato tan pequeño. Entonces tiene que haber coherencia entre la forma en que va a ser publicado y la cantidad de horas que el equipo invierte para poder desarrollar bien la pieza. Y ojo aquí, todas las piezas tienen que pasar por un minucioso contraste de fuentes. Y solo habiendo pasado estas 3 etapas del proceso, pasamos a la última, que es la elaboración del guión. Sobre eso hemos aprendido que la importancia del gancho es enorme. La gente no te va a esperar muchas veces 6 segundos para saber de qué va tu video. Necesitamos hacer un buen gancho introductorio para que las personas se queden intrigadas y lleguen hasta el final. También necesitamos hacer una narración llena de emociones y preguntas reflexivas, pero sobre eso profundizaremos en un ratito. Y bueno, los invito a romper los prejuicios en torno a las piezas que se viralizan en Internet. Muchas veces con el equipo hemos visto trends que uno diría, ay, pero esto qué de bueno le trae al mundo, pero que son trends que carambas, llevan más de 10 millones de interacciones por pieza. Es una locura. Los invito a no sentir prejuicios. La pieza que captura la mayor cantidad de los sentidos es la pieza ganadora, la pieza en la que te quedas de inicio a fin. Entonces los invito a pensar de esa forma cuando elaboren sus piezas. Si no los atrapo por la vista con una gran imagen, los atrapo con el oído con una canción que todo el mundo está escuchando. Los atrapo, qué sé yo, con algo que los haga sentir un sabor delicioso o algo que los lleve alguna otra sensación. Entonces es importante construir nuestras piezas pensando en que mientras más sentidos captemos de nuestra audiencia, más fácil es que se queden de inicio a fin a contar el mensaje importante que queremos comunicar. En nuestra experiencia, este es como el mix ganador. Un buen gancho, muy buenas tomas de apoyo, porque muchas veces si la audiencia te tiene de inicio a fin mirando a la cámara sin ningún recurso extra, puede aburrirse. Entonces, el mix entre rostro y tomas de apoyo es de vital importancia. Entonces, buen gancho, buenas tomas de apoyo. Y aquí va lo siguiente y más importante, montaña rusa de emociones en las narraciones. Si no, ¿por qué nos quedamos viendo tantos story times de historias de gente random en internet? Es importante que la audiencia sienta empatía con los personajes de tu historia. Toda historia tiene personajes y cada personaje tiene personalidad propia. Si no los llevamos a meterse en los zapatos de cada uno de ellos, es poco probable que esa historia los emocione tanto como te emocionó a ti. Y sobre eso, en nuestra experiencia, la música es hiper importante. No sé si ustedes se habrán dado cuenta, pero muchas veces cuando vemos películas, tenemos partes más melancólicas y la canción hace su esfuerzo porque a nosotros nos haga llorar, o partes más divertidas y la canción que eligen hace su esfuerzo para hacernos reír. Entonces, la edición de video es súper importante y bueno, hoy por hoy el equipo cuenta con un editor y nosotros grabamos, pero cuando empezó esto, yo misma elegía las canciones, los sonidos de transición, y editar era un viaje aparte de la investigación, aparte de la construcción de guión. Si el video, y con este filtro yo siempre he mirado las piezas que publicamos. Si ese video no me atrapa a mí, no le atrapa a nadie. Entonces, nada, importantísimo apoyarnos de los recursos que sean necesarios para que la gente sienta esa emoción que nosotros. Si estamos hablando quizás de un paisaje precioso, incluir tomas de sonido de agua, qué sé yo, todas esas cosas que parecen no tener mucho sentido ahora porque no es que tengamos imágenes para contextualizar, al momento de la edición suman muchísimo y son las que finalmente, son los detalles que finalmente terminan convenciendo a tu audiencia de sentir ciertas emociones o no. Y bueno, con esto quiero ampliar un poco en lo que les estaba comentando hace un rato. Tuvimos un gran caso de éxito, casi increíble para algunos, porque hay quienes piensan todavía que en internet la gente solo te va a mirar 3 segundos y te abandonará después si no les interesó demasiado. Entonces, ¿puede una historia de 6 minutos triunfar en TikTok o Instagram? Nosotros descubrimos que sí. De hecho, hicimos un video de 6 minutos sobre ciencia indígena contando la historia de María Sabina y tuvimos un alcance impresionante. En Instagram, más de 19,000 interacciones, más de 500 comentarios. En TikTok, lo mismo, más de 1 millón de reproducciones, más de 1,000 comentarios y más de 24,000 compartidos. Y bueno, esto fue básicamente porque las personas se engancharon con la historia. Esta historia en particular hablaba sobre el movimiento hippie, la revolución de los psicodélicos. Tenía personajes como John Lennon, por ejemplo, personajes que la gente podía reconocer. Y eso los hizo, pienso yo, llegar de inicio a fin a la historia y finalmente entender la crítica que estábamos haciendo al uso de psicodélicos en Occidente. Entonces, sí es posible que tu audiencia te escuche, si es que has sabido escoger correctamente los insumos en tu video para que eso suceda. Y con esto los quiero invitar a preguntarse siempre para quiénes estamos comunicando, porque a veces pensamos que quien lo va a ver sabe lo mismo que tú tienes en la cabeza. Y siempre es importante poner a la audiencia en contexto, porque no todos consumimos el mismo tipo de información. Y reitero, si le estamos hablando a la misma gente todo el tiempo, no vamos a lograr que el mensaje llegue a una audiencia más amplia y son las masas finalmente las que tienen la posibilidad de hacer cambios significativos en el mundo. Y con esto les quiero comentar que el trabajo diario desde Sapiens, no siempre lo logramos, pero es el trabajo diario. Nos esforzamos muchísimo por lograr la mayor cantidad de alcance con todas las piezas que hacemos, porque no queremos comunicar para nosotros, para decir, ay, qué bonito video el que hicimos. Queremos comunicar para la audiencia. Y sobre esto, comentarles que como medio, en múltiples reuniones con diversas organizaciones, hemos explicado que nuestro medio nació como un medio de comunicación que pretende llegar a un público masivo para así poder democratizar la información en torno a la sostenibilidad. Y muchas veces hemos recibido como respuesta que se manejan con áreas de comunicación no interesadas en la masividad, sino en la única y bidireccional comunicación con los stakeholders que realmente les importan, que son sus posibles financistas. Entonces se manejan básicamente con piezas audiovisuales B2B todo el tiempo. Y bueno, este básicamente ha sido el rostro que todos hemos puesto al escuchar este tipo de respuestas. Y con esto les quiero hablar un poco de las ventajas de apuntar siempre a la viralidad con todo lo que hagamos. El decisor de cualquier organización que pueda financiar tu proyecto, seguro que también usa redes sociales. Y la segunda ventaja es que comunicar masivamente los increíbles proyectos que trabajas como organización puede lograr que lo que en tu web dice ser tu misión, ¿no? Inspirar a quien sea a hacer realidad un proyecto como el tuyo. Y con eso termino. Los invito siempre a pensar en quién está detrás de la pantalla, que esas 10,000 vistas son 10,000 personas prestándote atención y que ese trabajo que te toma tantas horas debe tener los insumos necesarios para que valga la pena en Internet y llegue a la mayor cantidad de gente posible. Si un video con un trend que a veces podríamos pensar que no es del todo valioso, termina funcionando, aprendámosles a esos formatos para poder hacer llegar los mensajes que a nosotros nos apasionan y nos interesan. Y nada, que lo que sea que hagas bien y con corazón puede inspirar siempre a quien sea.
Hi, Alessandra. How are you?
Hi, fine.
Thank you for your presentation. It was lovely.
Gracias por tu presentación, estuvo increíble.
Ustedes.
Sí.
Gracias a ustedes por la invitación.
Okay, so we're going to go with the first question. How did you feel when you started on Instagram with no followers, 0 followers?
¿Cómo te sentiste cuando empezaste en Instagram con 0 seguidores?
Recuerdo que en realidad mi afán no era el de generar un montón de audiencia de buenas a primeras, sino más bien conversar con esos únicos 3 amigos que me seguían en internet, tener una conversación con ellos, jugar con ellos. Recuerdo que todo el tiempo abría cajitas de preguntas, respondía a las interacciones que recibía de mi pequeñísima audiencia, que eran básicamente mis familiares y mis amigos. Y creo que esa chispa logró que la comunidad fuera creciendo. Hoy en mi cuenta sea una comunidad de más de 200,000 seguidores, y en la cuenta de Sapiens, que nacimos en diciembre, con si sumamos todas las plataformas, con más de 100,000 seguidores, diría yo. Esa chispa por siempre estar en constante interacción con mi audiencia.
Alessandra, solo déjame traducir. So, people, Alessandra is sharing that how she was feeling when she started with 0 followers. And in summary, she shared that she was just opening Instagram to share with her friends. She was doing a lot of question box, and the process was so much that now she has 200,000 followers on Instagram, and Sapiens has in between almost 100,000 followers. In summary. Okay, Luigi.
This question is in Spanish, and I don't speak Spanish, so you guys go ahead.
Okay, ¿piensas que es importante defender la naturaleza en la ciudad?
Bueno, pues sí. De hecho, yo nací en la capital del Perú. Yo nací en Lima, que es una ciudad migrante. Es la ciudad que alberga la mayor cantidad de quechua hablantes de todo Y es una ciudad que lamentablemente cuenta con muy pocos espacios públicos que tengan acceso a naturaleza. Encuentras muy pocos parques zonales con áreas verdes. Por lo general, es una ciudad toda gris en el cielo y en la tierra. Todo el mundo en las urbes está esperando esas vacaciones para poder salir y tomarse su foto con un cielo impresionante, una montaña maravillosa o un mar espléndido, ¿no? Entonces pienso que eso es muy develador de que la gente en las urbes todo el tiempo está aspirando a áreas naturales, que son finalmente los espacios que nos corresponden. Somos nosotros animales también. Entonces, los espacios naturales son lo más real con nuestra biología, hasta ahí iría yo.
Okay, so Alessandra is sharing that she's actually from the capital of Peru, Lima, and even though that is the capital, there's not enough green zones in Lima, and this leads to the people to always expect to have this contact with nature, because at the very end we are also animals, and we need to have this natural contact with the environment. So, gracias por inspirarme. La siguiente pregunta. Gracias por inspirarme. Ahora voy a invitar a mi madre a hacer videos conmigo.
Buenísimo.
For the next question, someone's asking, how many hours do you invest per video?
¿Cuántas horas inviertes por video?
Eso depende mucho del topic que elijamos a comunicar. Hay historias, como por ejemplo la de María Sabina, que literal nos llevó a explorar más de 10 libros, diría yo, entre artículos pequeños, libros completos, revistas, y había tanta información que obviamente el tiempo para procesarla fue muchísimo. Habían puntos de vista distintos todo el tiempo en cada una de las fuentes. Pero hay videos, por ejemplo, ahora desde Sapiens se nos viene una coyuntura a informar que recientemente se ha declarado como reserva natural el Mar de Grau, que es la zona norte. Y es una coyuntura que tiene puntos específicos a comunicar. Es decir, podemos hablar de que aunque es reserva natural, todavía se está permitiendo la pesca masiva o actividades petroleras encima, pero no es que demande una inmensa, que hay que leer 20 libros para poder comunicarla. Entonces, esto siempre depende del formato y la temática que elijamos para comunicar.
Okay, so what Alessandra is sharing is that it depends which video you are making. ¿Cómo es su nombre? ¿María Sabina? For María Sabina, it took them to read at least 10 books to make the video. There are different perspectives. It's important to do a huge scope to bring accurate information and not partialized. But there are also other kind of videos. There's a joint in Peru right now with hydrosphere. And in this place, even though this is a huge space, there's not that much information. So the amount of time that they use and invest for this video is different. So it all depends in the amount of information that you have. Luigi.
Thank you so much, Alessandra. We have more questions for you, but unfortunately time's up. But I will get Augustin to send you the questions and we can get you to answer them.
Ya, sí, básicamente, Alessandra, estamos con el tiempo apretado, como nos estamos siendo traducidos, interpretados a 4 idiomas ahora. Hay todo un equipo detrás, exactamente. Esta sesión está siendo escuchada ahora en francés, portugués, inglés y español en simultáneo. Entonces, agradecemos mucho. Yo puedo mandarte las preguntas, podemos responderlas por redes sociales. Pero muchísimas gracias por tu tiempo, fue una increíble presentación. Yo también quiero hacer historias con mi madre ahora, pero me gustó. Voy a hablar ahora en inglés ya. I really like that we want to bring our mothers, because it was important that you shared that we need to create the content so also our mothers and fathers understand, because it's important to download this information. And sometimes, yeah, Luigi, sometimes in the climate scope there are all this terminology and we are like, yeah, NCQD and COB, and we need to make it easy for everyone to understand. What do you think, Luigi?
I think it's just about access. We need to make it accessible and ensure that we can have intergenerational connections, because that's really important. Thank you so much, Alessandra.
Gracias,
Thank you to
Alessandra.
you.
Thank you.
Incredible. Hey, Joe, what do you think from the session today?
Wow, it's just so much knowledge. I'm excited to always be here, and I'm sure that our participants all over the world are even more excited than me. Bro, it's amazing. That's the word. Amazing is the word.
That's the word. And actually, hey, Joe, I have a really great news for you. We will start the second cohort for reforesting for the Oxford Net Zero training program. And I would like to invite you to be one of the GYC volunteers to join the team, so you can be part of the core team that will be making this project possible. I like how you are doing with GYC. And so please don't forget to join our Instagram broadcast channel to have the latest updates. And what is our social media, Ayo? Let make you a test for Ayo.
Oh, so my you said what?
Yeah, it's don't worry, Irene is like, no, but please, yeah, that's our social media, Ayo. If you can let them know our social media.
Yeah, so our social media is on Instagram, we are the Global Youth _CO, and on X, we are the Global Youth _C, on LinkedIn, the Global Youth Coalition, and on TikTok is the R4PG Global. That's what's up. Yeah. And of course, if you want to use our hashtags, you could use hashtag GYC, hashtag R4P, and hashtag We Are One. Make sure you follow. It's so important.
Exactly, Ayo. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. And don't forget, people around the world, we are literally one planet. This is Reforesting for Peace, empowered by the Global Youth Coalition. See you next session in 2 Fridays. Ciao.
So when I say we have 2 years to save the world, it begs the question, who exactly has 2 years to save the world? The answer is every person on this planet. We still have a chance to make greenhouse gas emissions tumble. Generation of national climate plans, but we need these stronger plans now.